No doubt. This team that had lost 27 straight games on the road against ranked teams, the longest streak in Power 5. It ended on Saturday, and it ended really in emphatic fashion. Let's check out how it went down between Purdue and Iowa. There is Kirk Ferentz. Again, his team coming in ranked second in the country. Jeff Brom had some other thoughts on what might happen in this one. His team set the tone pretty early. Aiden O'Connell, David Bell.
David Bell.
Down to the Iowa 8-yard line. Bell had 5 catches for 101 yards in the first half. O'Connell, his first career rushing touchdown. Boilers on top 7-0. There was not a lot of room to run for Iowa. Tyler Goodson here, Howard, but just 271 total yards for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, that defensive front really made it difficult for them to run the ball today.
Ivory Kelly Martin does take it in from there, and we are tied at 7. Ensuing Purdue drive, though, it is O'Connell looking for the Marshall transfer. Brock Thompson hauls it in. What do you see here, Joshua?
A little vet move. Just slight bit of extension. Go up, catch the ball.
He hardly touched him.
A slight bit of extension, that's all. That's why it's a vet move.
Change his path.
I'm sure if Jerry's team would have been on defense, he would have said, hardly touched it back when he was a coach. But
I was
anyway,
always a big fan of good officials.
Jerry's a big fan of cheating.
DJ Sheffield there.
Jeez, that's
just
on
barely
him now.
got the first down, and then Sheffield for the touchdown. 10 plays, 75 yards. Same score now, 14-7. O'Connell to Bell. What a catch. Would set up a field goal. O'Connell threw for 375 yards. And then at Sheffield, crazy play here. I mean, this could have sealed the game. Sheffield reaching for the pylon. They say touchdown, but the replay shows otherwise. Lost the ball, hits the pylon. That is a touchback. Iowa ball. Would Kirk Ferentz's team be able to take advantage? In a word, no. Spencer Petras gets sacked. Branson Dean, Jack Sullivan. And then it's Petras. Look out, here comes Karlaftis.
Jeez. The guy doesn't quit.
He sacks him and throws him forward.
Yeah. Next play, they triple teamed him.
4 sacks, 10 tackles for loss in this game. Purdue did. O'Connell to Bell. An enormous game. 240 receiving yards. Second most in school history. Most ever at Kinnick Stadium. And look at this pass.
It's perfect everywhere. It's a perfect pass. It's a beautiful route. You see it leaves just enough room for the over-the-shoulder. Great concentration, great focus, great finish.
Boilers on top 24-7. Late fourth quarter, Iowa trying to mount something. They ran 2 straight quarterback sneaks, needing just a few yards, and weren't able to pick it up. Short there, the Boilers take over. More great defense from Purdue. That was a theme in this game. They forced 4 turnovers. Remember, this is an Iowa team that led the nation in turnover margin. They were -3 in this one. Brom and company get the win, their first win over a top 5 Big Ten team on the road since 1964. Telly Hughes with the winners.
As Aiden gets congratulated, and much deservedly so, knowing that the Hawkeyes led the nation in takeaways and interceptions, how are you able to find those holes in such a great defense that the Hawkeyes have?
Yeah, a credit to Iowa. They're a great defense. They play us tough every year. They're very sound, very fundamental. But again, I think it goes back to our week of practice. I think it starts with our coaches, them installing the game plan, letting us know what we're going to do. And, it comes out to execution. It's all about my teammates. It's all about the offensive line. I think I got sacked once today on, I don't even know how many throws. Our offensive line played unbelievable. Hats off to them. They can't do anything without those guys. And then our skill guys doing what they do, tight ends, running backs. And then our defense, 7 points against number 2 team in the country. So it's a beautiful team sport, and that showed tonight.
No one other than us thought we could win this game. We played free, we played fast, we played aggressive. We got after the quarterback on defense, we made big plays on offense, and we did it.
Now this makes 4 of the last 5 meetings Purdue is beating Iowa. What is it about this game that you guys feel like you have the Hawkeyes number?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that deep, but you know, it's just playing a really good, fundamentally sound football team, and we know that we got to bring our A game every time.
Everyone knew about the success you guys have had over the Hawkeyes in the last 4 meetings, but what gave you all the confidence that you can come to Kinnick and knock off the number 2 team in the country?
Well, I give all credit to our players and our assistant coaches. We had a really good 2 weeks of practice. We had to correct some things. They went to work. They've worked hard all year long, and we understand every week's a new week. And without question, Iowa was playing at a high level. We knew it was going to be challenging. We figured the only way we could probably gain an edge is to try to get a lead and make them kind of do some things they don't want to do. And fortunately for us, our guys just played hard. We made plays. Defensively has played really, really well all year long. Our offense was able to, get some things going and move the football and make some big plays. And, when everything's hitting and working together, good things will happen. So I give a lot of credit to our players, and just very proud of them.
A couple of those players to be particularly proud of are Auto Owners Insurance game leaders. We told you the numbers. O'Connell, 375 yards through the air. Bell, his first career 200-yard game, his 14th career 100-yard game, tying John Standiford's school record. So that's the story on Purdue's end. How about reaction from the Hawkeyes, starting with Kirk Ferentz?
Purdue played a great football game. Credit to them. Basically they outdid us in every category. And certainly, David Bell is outstanding. We knew that coming in. He's a tremendous football player, and a lot of respect for him. He and number 5 both played really, I think, impacted the game an awful lot. That's a tough thing, especially about conference football play. I think that factors in as well. So, we did it, and we went 12 straight in 15, and then whatever it was, 21, 22. So, it's tough to do, but you still want to do it. It doesn't ease the pain at all. It doesn't make you feel any better.
I need to play a lot better, as does the other 10 guys on the field. We all need to do better. I don't know. I can't point to one thing specifically, but just got to play better, play harder.
4 interceptions tossed by Petrus. Again, so many different storylines in this game as Iowa saw its 12-game winning streak come to an end. But to me, Howard, it begins with the Purdue defense. They overhauled this defense in the offseason, and to say it has been successful would be an understatement. We are now 6 games in. They've given up 84 points all year. It's remarkable how much better they are.
And we talk about Michigan State and the job that they're doing as far as, coming up in the second season. But when you think about what Purdue is doing from a defensive standpoint, it's nothing short of remarkable, because these are still the same guys that they've had for the last couple of years, and they're just playing at such a high level right now. Coach Braun made the decision to go in a different direction. He hasn't quite figured it out on the defensive side, but now he's got it figured out, and they're playing really, really well right now, and it showed today.
We hear the term complementary football a lot. I think that's what Purdue did today better than they usually do. And you're right, Howard. It started with the change in the defensive staff in the offseason. And again, offensively today, they weren't all of a sudden going to become a running team because they had a week off. It's almost impossible to improve your run game during an off week because you can't beat your team up, and that's one of the ways that you improve the run game. So they throw for a ton of yards. I think they ran for 84. They played outstanding defense, and they were emotionally ready more than Iowa was. Now, we didn't think Iowa would be as emotional as they were a week ago against Penn State, but you still have to be able to play better than they obviously played today.
Yeah, and Purdue deserves a ton of credit because they went out there and they won that football game. They did the things that it takes to beat a really good football team. But you flip it to Iowa, they also did some things that were uncharacteristic and gave Purdue some opportunities to win that game. And I look from the defensive standpoint, there are 3 things that really stand out to me. Is number 1, that Aiden O'Connell touchdown in that empty formation. They were playing a matchup zone or man-to-man back there, and they just let the rush go up the field, create a seam right there in the middle of the field. Nobody in the secondary, none of the linebackers have vision. That's a touchdown. That's a fundamental thing. You need to make sure those gaps are eaten up inside. Then you flip it to another goal line situation where you know you're going to get rub routes, and you got all your defenders on the same level. It's easy to get picked off that way, something that they could figure out. And then you look in the back end, the amount of cushion they were giving to Bell is what stands out to me, because that's a confident defense. You give up cushion like that when you feel like you can't hang with a guy.
And before you put a bow on this, Dave, in 3 games, David Bell, 37 catches, 558 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Do you think the Iowa fans and Kirk Ferentz aren't excited that he's not going to be there next year? Now you see why they had so much respect for him, because he torched them for the last 3 years.
Yeah. He is a difference maker. But the way we had watched Iowa play defense all year, you felt like they'd be able to contain him. Yeah. Iowa has done enough things that I think they can compete for a championship. If they play like the way that they played on Saturday, that's just not going to happen, though. Yeah. It's not the formula.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this, and if you didn't watch the game, the biggest takeaway would be not only was this not a fluke, but it was really never in doubt. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a point where you thought Purdue wasn't going to win the game or that Iowa had something in them to rally. I mean, Purdue really pretty much from start to finish dominated this game. Does that mean they're the better team at the end of the year? Who knows?
Did everything they needed to do to win.
But they were clearly the better team on Saturday.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it whatsoever. Michigan State and Indiana, the battle for the old brush spittoon. Pick it up in the first quarter. Indiana on top 3-0 on a 3rd and 8. Jack Tuttle picked off by Cal Halliday. What a year this young man has had. 30 yards for the touchdown. His first career interception puts the Spartans on top 7-3. Now it's 10-9 in favor of Michigan State. Jack Tuttle picked off by Darius Snow. Not Tuttle's best effort there. 28 of 52 in this game with a couple picks. Ensuing MSU possession. How about this? Tyler Hunt, the tight end,
fading away.
Throwing it back to the quarterback, Peyton Thorne.
High pointing it.
I mean, did he ever? Look at this.
Toe tap.
Well, wait a minute.
He should return the favor, too, shouldn't he?
He really
probably
should. I mean, at that point, you say, I really ought to throw it back to Tyler. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Jerry, it's like you watched this or something.
That's beautiful.
I've seen this before.
17-9 in favor of the Spartans. The fourth quarter we go. Same score. Indiana, Tuttle. Stephen Carr cuts back, dives into the end zone. Hoosiers went for 2, did not get it. So down by 2. Now they're down by 5 after a field goal. Tuttle is sacked. Chester Kimbrough recovers the fumble. And on the ensuing MSU possession, Spartans trying to take advantage. Thorne picked off by Noah Pierre. And so Indiana still has life, but they were unable to capitalize as Tuttle on a 4th and 21. Give me your best 4th and 21, Jerry.
Not this one.
No,
I wouldn't have called that.
Knocked down, and Mel Tucker's team wins it 20-15. The Spartans still unbeaten.
Turnovers were huge for us in the game. Defense was playing hard, and holding them to low numbers. And then our offense, really did some things in the second half. And we started playing complementary football, and that's why we were able to get it done. But I was very, very proud of our team, very proud to get the brass spittoon back, because it's important to us to get that trophy back. Our guys were asking about it after the game. They want to know, where is it? I said, hey, they're going to bring it to us. Don't worry. We'll get it.
Really disappointed and frustrated right now. Thought our kids played hard. Thought the defense played awesome. And did what we asked them to do. So, kicked too many field goals in the first half and didn't finish in the fourth quarter. So, disappointing without question.
Tough year for Tom Allen. 2-4, 4 losses. All the teams currently in the top 10, and they've got Ohio State next week. As we look at our Applebee's quarterback comparison, frankly, neither quarterback had a great day. 2 interceptions thrown by Thorne. You see 2 picks thrown by Tuttle as well, and both of them under 5 yards per attempt. And frankly, guys, I mean, I think when you kind of look back on great seasons, I'm not saying Michigan State will or won't have a great season, Joshua, but they're certainly poised to have one. And these are the kinds of games you have to figure out a way to win. They did not play great in this game, and yet they figured it out in the end, and they're 7-0.
Yeah, I don't think winning always has to be pretty. The outcome is what's most important, and the great teams are the ones that find a way to win the game. And Jerry talks about this, and I've been a part of this locker room, so has Howard. But when you win in an ugly game, you can coach more critically because your guys are feeling good that they got the win, but there's a lot of good stuff to teach off of. So this is actually a really good point for Michigan State to be at, to where they've won games and blowouts. They've also won the close games, and they won the ugly games. So they have a ton of things to teach off of, and it keeps the team motivated to their goals toward the end of the year, which really heat up as they start to look at the end of October and into November.
Yeah, there's no doubt. A team like Michigan State is going to win some ugly games. And to back up what you both said, some of the numbers, Thorne threw 2 picks, which you mentioned during the highlights, Trevor. Kenneth Walker had only 84 yards. They were outgained by Indiana, who was playing their second-team quarterback. Yeah. And they'll grow from this more than they would have grown if it was another one-sided win. Because I think these are the kind of games that help you build a championship season.
You know, the interesting thing is, even in their blowout wins, they're still left a lot of stuff that was on the table for them to go out and improve on. So each week, they've had a lot of things to improve on. Another thing, 12 penalties, 134 yards. Yeah. You got to get that fixed.
That's a problem.
And some really silly penalties,
personal fouls.
Yeah.
Let me say this, though. I think Indiana deserves a lot of credit defensively for what they were able to do. And this is a defense that we had talked about early on in the year is one of the best in the Big Ten. And I think they really lived up to that standard. They forced a team to turn the football over that hadn't really turned the ball over a lot. And they limited a run game that was very explosive as well as a pass game. That's not just Michigan State making mistakes. It's Indiana coming to play as well.
Yeah, I mean, held them to 241 yards. This is a team that had been over 455 of its first 6 games. The issue for Indiana is its own offense. Yeah. I mean, now 4 offensive touchdowns total in their 4 losses. Just really, really hard to win games that way. And again, against fabulous competition. They have had the toughest schedule of anyone in the country, for sure. As we move on here, how about Nebraska and Minnesota? And Adrian Martinez going up against Tanner Morgan. Here's Morgan, who he was on fire early in this game. At one point, he completed 16 straight passes. It's Mike Brown-Stevens for the 28-yard touchdown. Gophers on top 14-3, and then it's Morgan to Chris Ottman-Bell. How about this catch, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, perfect position. Plus, he was interfered with. Great concentration and great ball placement.
21-9, Gophers on top at the break. To the third quarter, same score. Morgan had essentially avoided mistakes, but Deontay Williams makes one there. Unfortunately, pays for it. Got injured on the play. But Nebraska trying to take advantage. Adrian Martinez was 18 of 33 for 241 yards. It's Austin Allen, who had a big day. Went over 100 yards receiving. Huskers threatening, and Ramir Johnson punches it in. So it's 21-16. Same score. Nebraska chance to take the lead. 4th and 1. And Jaquez Yant is stopped short, Howard.
Tyler Nubin sticking his head in there and stopping the ball at the goal line. One-on-one, you got to win that battle if you're an offensive player.
So still 21-16. Martinez gets flushed into the end zone, gets rid of it, but that's intentional grounding. He was in the end zone. PJ Fleck knows that's a safety. And so now it's a 7-point game, and then Bryce Williams. I mean, how they are down their top 2 tailbacks, and yet they just have
it doesn't even matter.
More where that came from.
They can run it.
Spare and the pair.
Yeah, the pair and the spare.
They got some air to put in the pair and the spare. They got guys, though.
Yeah, they got people.
30-23 Gophers. How about PJ Fleck? Great moment there with Martinez after the game as his team improves to 4-2. They beat the Huskers for the 3rd straight time. First time that's happened since the 1950s. Here's reaction, starting with the Gopher coach.
Really proud of our players' grit, their toughness, the ability to overcome. That was truly culture versus skill. And that's what I saw today. Whatever anybody else wants to say about us or our program or our culture, feel free. We've been called every name in the book. But culture versus skill. On paper, I mean, we've been underdogs the last few weeks. Our guys don't listen to all that stuff. Our culture keeps everything really tight. They believe in it. They live it academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, and everybody's held to a high standard. And that will not come down for anyone. Period.
Yeah, I give credit to them. They had 2 weeks to look at us, and I thought they did a good job, in the first half especially. They were grinding us out in the run game and then hitting some hard sell RPOs and play actions off of that. And we didn't really have an answer in the first half. Thought they did a great job adjusting in the second half. And, they were the better team in the first half. I thought we were the better team in the second. And we got to get those balls in the end zone when we get them down there.
Our game stats brought to you by Ace Hardware. I mentioned the 16 consecutive completions by Tanner Morgan. That is tied for the third most ever in a conference game in the Big Ten. Our buddy Chuck Long still has the record. How about that? 1984, that record has stood. Remember, Michael Penix threatened it a couple of years ago against Michigan State. But that is some really good company. And J.T. Barrett, Russell Wilson, and put Tanner Morgan in there as well. And Joshua, they had to be good through the air because, as we said, they are really banged up at tailback, although they got a couple nice tailback contributions today as well. Minnesota just kind of figuring out a way to win, and they win these close games. That is what they do.
They do. They win the close games. They do it with adversity in their face. Talking about a quarterback in Tanner Morgan who had been doubted because he hadn't played very well. You're talking about a running back room that was depleted and a defense that's still building. And PJ Fleck said it was a culture versus skill type of game. And some people think some of the sayings are corny. I fully believe that. This is a team that's bought into the culture. They're bought into everything that is being told to them. You can tell that they believe in themselves because it's not very often that you go to the well on a third string player and everybody's playing that hard. And the offensive line is still blocking as hard as they are. And the guys are on the edges getting blocks downfield so he can make a big play. I think they got something special cooking, and we've seen this build over the season before out of Minnesota.
Yeah, we talked this morning a little bit, and I felt like if Nebraska was going to win the game, they had to make Tanner Morgan win the game because, as you said, Joshua, he's been a little inconsistent, and they got the tailback game going today, but Tanner absolutely won the game. I mean, I know he threw 2 picks, but Nebraska tried to put him in a box, try to make him win the game, and he did it. He came through.
This is a team that's comfortable when they're playing shorthanded. They understand that everybody's got a role and everyone has to step up. But we've seen this before out of them when they haven't had all their players, but they still go out and find a way to win football games. So it is something to the culture that they have created in Minnesota.
And by PJ's press conference, they must have been pretty critical of him this past week. I mean, I didn't see that. I don't know why anyone would be really critical of this team so far, but his reaction at the press conference made it sound like he was under a lot of criticism. I don't see why. I think they've been playing fine.
Could be the old Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Hey, that's, maybe they're not as critical, but that's how you grow and you thrive in your environment, is by being doubted. Some people really thrive off of that.
And again, 13th win in their last 17 one-possession games for the Gophers. And then you contrast that with Nebraska. They are 5-17 now.
That's tough.
In one-possession games under Scott Frost. Those 17 losses, the most in the nation during that time period. Rutgers and Northwestern. The Wildcats welcome me back, the 1995 and 96 Big Ten champs, of course, coached by Gary Barnett. That 95 team made it to the Rose Bowl. Here's Ryan Helinski, Malik Washington bouncing off tacklers. 64 yards for the touchdown, longest passing play for the Cats in 3 years for a TD, and they lead it 7-0, and it's Noah Vedral to Bo Melton. Now, Northwestern's been gashed for big plays this year. That was the only one they allowed longer than 20 yards. They'd given up 22 in the first 5 games. Vedral to Melton there for the touchdown. That's a pretty nifty catch.
Good on Sundays.
Indeed. Went over 100 yards, Melton did. 7-7 game. But it's Helinski to J.J. Jefferson.
Might want to make that tackle right there.
Yeah, Rutgers tackling left a bit to be desired. For sure on Saturday.
Left to be desired.
4 plays later.
You got a list?
Helinski to Marshall Lang. 3 catches on the year, 2 for touchdowns. Pretty good. It's a good ratio.
That's a great ratio.
And Atamiwa Adabara had an unbelievable day for Northwestern. 4 tackles for loss. Comes up with a big play there. Had a sack as well. Defense was outstanding. Andrew Clare takes it into the end zone as the Cats win it by the final of 21-7. Here's the winners.
We had our shots, and we took those shots, and we hit some of them. And then some of them, of course, we won a PI, and then some of them I got to deliver a better ball. There's a couple plays I want back today. I left some throws out there. Left some some plays I want back, of course, and I know I could just get better, and I know Coach Jake sees it. Like we could have scored a lot more points than we did, but we came out with the win, and I'm excited about that.
Just through the reps we're getting in practice, just seeing our mistakes and finding solutions. I think guys are just working hard at fixing what they can fix and moving forward that way. Having the extra week, you get a little more time to look back at the mistakes, figure out what we did wrong, obviously, and then try to correct those mistakes. And, we really emphasized trying to control the line of scrimmage, and I thought we did a good job of that today.
Well, we've been trending the wrong direction, so you could say we've been doing well, but we were doing really well at the beginning of the year. We were number one in the country in penalties, and then it's kind of gone like this. And then today we fell off a cliff, whether it was DPIs, whether it was sideline infractions, whether it was delay of games. Very disappointing, though. My hat is off to Northwestern. They had a bye, and they got some things straightened out, and then we contributed. So when that happens, they had an opportunity to win a game, and they took advantage of it.
They did indeed. Again, Rutgers did not play great. 11 penalties, kind of some of the stuff Greg Schiano was talking about. But let's give Northwestern's defense a ton of credit because they have been shredded by the Power 5 teams they have played, giving up more than 500 yards against every one of them, 222 yards in this game.
Bye week was great for them. I think it was really a good time for them to take a step back, do some self-scout, figure out exactly what was going well in that room and what they needed to work on. And you saw the fundamentals that really improved. That's the big thing. The tackling was a lot better for Northwestern. I think the gap integrity in the run game was a lot better. You could see that the guys were confident in the coverages that they were running. Rutgers didn't have that time off. They played 7 straight. So I think the bye week is going to bode well for them as they get to head into it. But Northwestern got a lot of things corrected up.
3 of the 4 teams that had byes last week won, Northwestern being one of them. Indiana's the only one that lost. Remember, you mentioned 222 yards, which is an important stat. 63 yards rushing within that 222 because Rutgers is an option team, I think, is a critical stat that favors Northwestern in this game.
I thought what was really good for Northwestern on the defensive side was the defensive front and just how active they were with some of the stunts that they were running today. And they really never allowed the quarterback to get into a rhythm where he could throw the ball and was comfortable in the pocket. I think it also helped with quarterback run game as well, being able to keep them bottled up.
Eat those gaps up inside, let the linebackers flow over top. Quarterback can't run in there. It's a pretty good plan.
Rutgers has some offensive issues, too, guys. They're averaging fewer than 13 points per game now against Power 5 foes. So, again, see if they can figure that out. The bye comes a good time. Then they go to Illinois after that. There was one non-conference game in the Big Ten on Saturday night, last one of the year, in fact, as Wisconsin welcomed Army, these 2 really good rushing offenses and actually 2 really good rushing defenses as well. And Wisconsin flexing the rushing offense early. Braylon Allen, 33 yards for the touchdown, longest run of his career. Puts Wisconsin on top 7-0. How about Leo Chanel? I mean, he's all over the place, Jerry.
This charge through the gaps because these option teams take big splits. I've never seen someone take advantage of it like Wisconsin has.
It took down Tyre Tyler there, and the fake punt run to perfection. Jack Sanborn had a major role in this game, not just from his linebacker spot, but special teams as well. Graham Mertz, Danny Davis. Longest play of the half for the Badgers, 36 yards, and it sets up this. Mertz showing off the wheels.
He gone.
2 rushing touchdowns for him. Badgers held Army to 48 yards in the first half. They were up 13-0, but it got interesting in the second half. Tyler, look at this, little cutback and takes it into the end zone. First points allowed in 8 quarters for the Badgers. And the Cadets are fired up. It's a 1-score game. How about Chanel coming through on Jabari Laws? The fumble recovered by the Badgers deep in Army territory. And Mertz takes it from there. Put Wisconsin on top 20-7. They would hold on to win it by the final of 20-14. Here's Rick Pizzo with the victorious Badgers.
Paul, how much is this one when you just look up at the scoreboard and you say, we got the win, now let's get out of here?
Yeah, we appreciate all the efforts that went into it, and I thought our defense was big time in so many ways, and put enough together to get some points, but it is a good one to get, and you want to enjoy that one, and then to move back into conference.
Your defense was really good as a whole, but Leo had 16 tackles in that forced fumble. How good was he tonight?
He was really good, and he's a heck of a football player, but I thought I thought our coaches did a great job putting the plan together, and most of all, our kids understood it, and they executed it, and credit to them, they made some plays, but it was a great win for our team.
Just been told the official word is 17 tackles for Leo Chanel, and of course the forced fumble to seal things late. You know, guys aren't supposed to like playing against triple option offenses. Why were you able to be so successful tonight?
I just love physical football, and those guys were bringing the physicality, man. I respect those guys so much, you know, what they do, and they really brought it to us. They're physical, they're disciplined, and we love that. We love playing physical. It matches us, so we basically just love it.
You could certainly see that in this game. They seem to relish going up against this Army triple option. And again, the Knights are going to get their yards, but held about 140 yards under their season rushing average by this Wisconsin defense.
Wisconsin defense, fundamentally sound, obviously, to be able to contain an offense like the triple option attack. But it is the hustle that stands out to me. And that play that Chanel had where he had the strip sack, he was basically tackled by the offensive lineman, got up, made it to the quarterback, knocked the ball out. Those are the type of plays that wins games. And the fact of the matter is this defense is going to keep them in games through the stretch.
You know, on offense a couple of weeks ago when they played Michigan, Wisconsin was in 3 wides, 1 back quite a bit. And then in the last game against Illinois, they were in mostly I was surprised they were 3 wides, 1 back as much today. And I think it's just because Paul doesn't believe the rest of the schedule, they can just line up in the eye. They've got to be able to throw the ball better. And he talked a lot about it as a post-game presser.
I thought they did a good job in the first half working that 2-minute offense. That's something that you probably wouldn't have seen had they been having success throwing the ball in previous weeks. But they needed to move the ball offensively, and I thought they did a good job of executing at times at that.
We will learn a ton about them coming up here in the next 2 games, guys. At Purdue, home against Iowa. We'll see how good this Wisconsin team is. But again, back to 500 at 3-3. Our Saturday standouts, starting with that guy, Howard.
David Bell, career day. Well, has a career day for 3 years versus this Iowa defense, but he really stepped up his game today. Really did a great job of running some precise routes today. Gave the corners all kinds of fits today. That's my guy.
All right, so my guy had a huge challenge today, going up against this triple option attack. Leo Chanel coming out there, 17 tackles. Are you kidding me? 2.5 tackles for a loss. He had a sack. These cats only threw the ball like 8 times. He still had a sack and a forced fumble on that play. It's big-time football. Wisconsin defense is for real, and so is this guy.
My standout unit is Northwestern's defense. 222 yards they hold Rutgers to. And maybe as important, if not more important, 63 yards rushing because Rutgers wants to beat you running the ball. A bye week. Well spent. Fitz has got the defense back on track today. Let's hope it continues throughout the season.
Think about what's happening in Minnesota. They lost Mo Ibrahim, who's an All-American. They lost Trey Potts. So what do? They turn to the 3rd string back, Bryce Williams. 17 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown as Minnesota gets the win over Nebraska on Howard. What was an eventful day?
Really an eventful day, as Joshua always talks about. Very informative and educational for us.
Learned something today.